The Trek Geeks Podcast Network is proud to have Fansets as our presenting sponsor. Fansets is the place for amazing pin collectibles with over 300 officially licensed Star Trek pins and new releases every month. Keep listening to this episode for a special discount code good on your next order at fansets.com. Fansets. Our pins have character.
This episode is also sponsored by Science Division, the makers of the world's first interactive Tribble that you can control with your very own smartphone. Science Division. Trouble's never been this fun.
Hi, this is Nana Visitor, Major Kira Nerys from Deep Space Nine, and you are listening to the biggest little show this side of the Gamma Quadrant, the Trek Geeks Podcast with Bill Smith and Dan Davidson.
From the Pomp and Circumstance Division, high above Podfleet Command, it's the biggest little show this side of the Alpha Quadrant and the flagship of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. Greetings to you, ladies, gentlemen, children of all ages, and welcome to the Trek Geeks Podcast. I'm your co-host, Bill Smith. This is our first show of 2021, and it's so good to be back after a little bit of a holiday break. And of course, by we, I do mean my co-host and I can only hope that he's on his way out of town. I really can. And I will guarantee that I will play songs better than YMCA. Yes, he's the largely discoable Dan Davidson. And Dan, why don't you show us some moves?
Merry New Year. Want some beef jerky? That's the little Trading Places line in there. How you doing, buddy? Good to be here, little robot. What?
You're going to have to explain to me the Trading Places transition at some point off mic.
Just say you said Happy New Year, and that popped into my head. When he said Merry New Year, and he's pretending he's an exchange student from Cameroon, Eddie Murphy, and he says that.
If you can believe this, I've only seen Trading Places once.
Classic Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd, Jamie Lee Curtis film. I recommend it highly.
And it was almost 40 years ago, I'm sure.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Wow.
But here
I feel like every time we sit down, except today, because it's 2021 and we're starting a new year of podcasting, pal.
Well, I can see we're both a little bit rusty after not doing this for a few weeks, huh? But, buddy, it's speaking of 2020 and 2021, we are very excited to be back, and we got a special guest to help us into this brand new year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a great discussion, talking about all the things that took place in 2020 and looking forward to 2021. He's been on the show before. He's a great contributor over at TrekNews.net. Kyle Hadyniak is going to join us to talk about all the things that we remember from last year, all the big moments in the Star Trek universe. And I think it's going to be a great discussion because there are a lot of, as bad as 2020 was, there are a lot of good things that happened in the Star Trek universe.
There really are, and there's lots of things that we can look at as fans and remember happened amid all the chaos, and we're going to do some of that later on in this episode. But first, mon frere, might you regale us with the information by which people can communicate with us?
Oh my gosh, yeah. We want to hear from anybody on anything, past episodes, this episode, what you want to see in future episodes. There's a whole bunch of ways you can do it. Just go to trekgeeks.com/contact and you can email us. You can send us a voicemail. You can chat with us. You can tweet at us. Or you can go to Camp Kittimer, which is the official Facebook group of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network over on the Book of Faces. It is the most positive Trek group on Facebook. We don't allow any trolling. We don't allow any gatekeeping. gatekeeping. We only want people there who are going to celebrate what they love about Star Trek. So just go over to facebook.com, search for Camp Kittimer. We're going to let you right in after a very quick quiz. There's always a test involved. We want to thank our wonderful admins, Haley, Jackie, and Fark, for the amazing job they do running the camp. But Bill, it is always important. Every week we have to say that as they would say in wink of an eye, in any of these places, it may be used in a future episode.
Wow.
I said it really fast.
You said something, that's for sure. A little programming note. Obviously, here we are toward the end of January as we start up new episodes. For the month of February, Dan, you and I actually are going to be heard very little on the Trek Geeks podcast. And that's because we've made a very important and I think very forward-thinking decision to highlight the voices of others during the month of February.
Yeah, thank God.
Well, specifically, we are going to use the Trek Geeks podcast to amplify and elevate the voices of African-American content creators in Star Trek fandom. It's a decision that you and I are both passionate about, and we talked about it, and I think we reached a decision in 0.68 seconds, perhaps. Which is an eternity for an android.
It really is. But it seems like it's been an eternity for this type of recognition to come about in our society. And this is our small way that we can contribute to that and support it, because it is so very important with everything that we've seen over the past few years. Moving forward, we want to continue to be as inclusive as we possibly can. So this is a fantastic idea that we came up with. So during the month of February, we're going to have guests from the African-American content community doing podcasts here on Trek Geeks, and we will just have our quick little hellos at the beginning of the episode, and then we're going to turn it over to them. And I'm very excited about this, buddy.
Me too. This is their content presented their way. Because it wouldn't make sense for them to do it our way, because that wouldn't be their voice.
Exactly.
Then. We reached out to several, podcasters and content creators and said, look, would you be interested in this? And we were so lucky that the people we approached were very excited to do an episode of Trek Geek. So we have some special guests coming up in February. The Sci-Fi Sisters will be hosting an episode first up. So the first week of February, our friend David Majors, who's a great podcaster, and also the Black Alert podcast, has agreed to come in and do an episode. And we're really looking forward to the content that they are going to give to you all. We can't wait to hear it because we haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things that's going to be cool. It's not as if we're going to just be putting in a past podcast and just dropping it into our feed. They're going to be doing their podcast on our network for the month of February, and I think it's an incredible honor to have all of them on, and I'm really looking forward to listening to the topics that they're going to give us.
So as someone who downloads and listens to Trek Geeks, you won't have to do anything different. Your normal episode of Trek Geeks will hit your feed every single week, except you'll have some different voices with some great conversation. And that's what we're looking forward to the most.
And like I said, thank God, won't have to listen to us. I mean, they're doing it right now, and I can see the blood coming out of people's ears literally right now. So yeah, that'll be
no, that's just me.
That's what I mean.
Dan, it's the beginning of a new year here on Trek Geeks, and we're very excited about what this year is going to bring for Star Trek fans. And one of the things we know everyone will be excited about is the fact that Fansets will have some of the most amazing pins you've ever seen coming out over the course of the next 12 months.
Yeah, absolutely, Bill. And if you've been following them on Facebook and Twitter like we do, you've been getting a lot of sneak peeks lately about what to expect over just the next couple of months anyway. There are so many awesome Star Trek pins on the horizon. But as always, Fansets decided to surprise us at the end of last week with a whole bunch of brand new pins just for January. And you can get those right now at fansets.com. And they include Star Trek Picard episode pins 3 and 4 for The End is the Beginning and Absolute Candor. And also from Star Trek Picard, the wonderful Dr. Agnes Girardi is ready to add to your collection. Over at Star Trek Discovery, we're happy to have Lieutenant Nilsson join the Fansets ranks. And oh my God, Bill, the one that I've been waiting for, the newest ship pin from Fansets, the Doomsday Machine ship pin, has finally been released. It's awesome. It's beautiful. It's the giant bugle, and I'm very excited.
Space Bugles.
And finally, Bill, we've been waiting for this one also for a very long time, and it's finally here. The TNG All Good Things full-size Delta is now available over at fansets.com.
And that Delta, I mean, as well as every pin that Fansets produces, is just gorgeous. Now, we want to make sure everyone is aware. This is just the full-sized Delta. The magnetic-backed Delta and the mini version of the Delta will be available in the near future, so keep your eyes on Fansets' social media pages for all those release announcements. So, in the meantime, head on over to fansets.com, check out all of their pins, put a bunch of them in your cart, and at checkout, be sure to enter this week's exclusive Trek Geeks discount code word BY2020. That's BYE2020 for an amazing 10% off your entire order. Again, that's BY2020 in all capital letters with no spaces. This offer is going to be good until January 27th, 2021 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Plus, don't forget, when you spend more than $30, you're automatically going to get free shipping in the United States.
Fansets. Our pins have character. And we thank our friends at Fansets for being the presenting sponsor of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. Bill, here we are in 2021, and before you know it, buddy, Valentine's Day is going to be here.
It sure will. The season of love. The time of year when you tell those people closest to you how much you love them, and wouldn't you know, Science Division has the perfect gift, unique for the geek in your life. That's right, it's the galaxy's first app-enabled interactive Tribble. Order your Tribble now at sciencediv.com, and for a limited time, it will arrive with a custom plush rose and special festive packaging to show the special person in your life how they're no Tribble at all.
Wow, dude, really? Seriously?
Valentine's Day is about love, Dan, so shut your face. Plus, Science Division has some brand new accessories like their official tote bag, which will be perfect for when conventions start up again. These canvas tote bags have the Science Division Gamma Ray Burst logo, and let me tell you, they're truly massive. They'll be perfect for lugging all your swag around, and for a limited time, they're shipping with a pixel art Tribble pin and a set of Tribbles of Vegas cards.
Awesome, and better yet, you could get a Tribble and a tote bag and be ready for whatever comes your way because, as you're well aware, Tribbles and tote bags are not dangerous, Bill. So you'll definitely want to head over to sciencediv.com to get yours today.
Yeah. Science Division. Trouble's never been this fun, and we thank our friends at Science Division for sponsoring this week's episode.
Well, you've heard him on the news from TrekNews.net here on Trek Geeks, and today we welcome him back to talk about the biggest stories of 2020 and to look ahead to 2021. He's TrekNews.net's contributor and brand new dad, Kyle Hadyniak. Kyle, it is great to see you. Congratulations, man, and welcome back to Trek Geeks.
Hey, Dan Davidson. Did I say that right? I was practicing before the show and I screwed it up. And hey, Bill, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you doing? It's good to have you back.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back. This is always fun.
Yeah, it's funny because we joked about it last time that Dan rehearsed saying your last name all kinds of times before you were on last time.
Yes.
And today, Dan and I recorded a part of Discovering Trek, and I said, so you ready for tonight? And he said your name flawlessly about 5 times in a row. And I said, you're going to mess this up.
I didn't mess it up. I stuttered, but I did say it correctly.
That's a mess up.
You really do need a universal translator for my last name.
You really don't. You just need somebody who's fluent in English.
Dude, if you'd spell it right, maybe it would be.
I know. That's totally on, whoever made my last name like 50 generations ago.
Oh,
well,
jerks.
However you pronounce it, however you spell it, it's really great to have you here. And Happy New Year.
Yeah, you too, guys. How you doing?
Good, although I suspect we're getting a little more sleep than you are these days. Congrats on the newest addition to your family.
Thank you. Yes, Kira Hadyniak, born December 11th. Nice. And if you were to ask my wife, the name Kira did not come from Star Trek, but I'll let her believe that for as long as I can. Hopefully she doesn't listen to this.
Well, with a wink and a nod, we'll go along with it. We won't say anything. No one's listening to this show anyway, so don't worry about it.
It's just the three of us.
That's all it ever is.
And I might not even listen, so it's only two of you.
Well, he finally admits it now after 6 years.
That's right. This year is 6 years for you guys, isn't it?
Yes, it is. In fact, this week is 6 years.
Oh,
so
congratulations.
Thank you very much. It feels like it's gone by amazingly quick, Dan, doesn't it?
It's like a bloodletting.
Wow.
Wow.
I try to say something really nice.
How primordial.
I gotta say it. I don't know, that Steve Martin skit from Saturday Night Live jumped into my head, but it's been fantastic. I cannot believe it's been 6 years, buddy. In all seriousness, it's been quite a journey. And as we come into 2021 and hopefully the end of the pandemic, another journey is about to start with our sixth year. Wow.
How many shows?
This is 247.
Yeah.
Cool.
247, and somewhere along the vicinity of 75 or 80 discovering Trek. So it's been a lot of content, and we got a lot more content to go through, I'm sure.
Well, to prep for this, I listened to all of those shows.
Yes,
and you guys are doing a good job.
Well, we can't be held responsible for any, counseling or therapy you might need after listening to that much of Dan.
Hey, that is my therapy, listening to you guys talk about Star Trek.
You have bigger issues.
Yeah, I guess so now I do.
Well, Kyle, it's great to have you here. We're going to talk a little bit about something a thing or two about, and that's some news. Obviously, 2020 is in our rear view, boys, and I think that we are all incredibly happy that that's the case. But still, yet a lot of things happened in the world of Star Trek, and we're going to talk about that in our first new show of 2021 this year. So, Kyle, we asked you to compile some stories you thought were probably the most weighty or important or even big as far as the scope of 2020. And we have no idea, for the most part, what you're going to talk about. So you get to surprise us.
Well, this is dangerous. Oh, you didn't vet me before? Okay. So quite a few things did happen in 2020 that were really good for the franchise, despite, gestures vaguely everything else. But so the first thing that came to mind when I was thinking about, what happened this year is that we are getting a show about a character who, before modern Star Trek, we had only seen like twice, right? Two TOS episodes, Captain Pike. And so obviously Anson Mount brought Captain Pike to Discovery Season 2, and he was fantastic in my opinion. A lot of people really liked him. One of the best parts of the season. And because fans demanded a show about Pike and the Enterprise and Spock and Number One, they're making a show about him, Strange New Worlds, that's filming this year. I highly, highly doubt we'll see it this year. And if we do, great. But in any case, they announced it in 2020. And I think that's a remarkable thing because I was thinking about how the motion picture came to be. And that's because fans clamored for new Star Trek. And that's what they got in the form of the motion picture back in the 70s. And now something similar is happening. It's not, a movie, but it's going to be a very high quality TV show starring a wonderful cast of characters. And we'll be getting those episodes sometime in the near future, I hope. But in any case, it's a pretty cool thing to hang on to, that we're getting a show because fans really clamored for it. So that's a real testament to how the cast and crew of Discovery Season 2 handled those characters.
I think it's pretty amazing if you think about the scope of the Star Trek universe and 50 years ago, how the franchise was canceled in its tracks. And it took a massive write-in effort, of course, spurred by Gene Roddenberry behind the scenes. But twice fans tried to save Star Trek and they succeeded once.
Right.
And then we went through this sort of first long dry spell of 10 years between Turnabout Intruder and the motion picture. And here we are now, fast forward just over 50 years later, Dan. And it's an embarrassment of riches. It's really kind of weird to think about.
Yeah, it really is. And the best riches you could think of, because how many times have we talked about here on Trek Geeks and on Discovering Trek, how much both you and I absolutely loved what Anson Mount and Rebecca Romijn did with those characters in season 2 of Discovery. We talked about how it very quickly, Anson Mount's Captain Pike became one of our favorite captains in all of Star Trek because he was so good at the role. The storyline for his character in season 2 of Discovery was just amazing. And we were talking about it right from the get-go. Oh my God, it would be so great if they made a show about these characters and Pike's Enterprise, even if it was called, we talked about whether it be called Star Trek Pike or something like that. We love the title of Strange New Worlds. But I got to tell you, at one point, Kyle, I was really nervous because I had heard that they broke down and quote unquote destroyed the Enterprise sets once they were done filming season 2. So I thought it was out the window. Then they came back with the announcement, and I got to tell you, I was so excited. I can't wait for just the teaser trailer for this.
Yeah,
it's going to be
fantastic. Sure. Which we'll probably get at some point, hopefully soon, because they have either already started filming or will do so soon. So yeah, teasers come pretty soon after that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Anson Mount, I remember watching the episode in season 2 of Discovery where we see his accident. And I was watching with my brother and I was like giddy like a kid. And I was like, I can't believe we're watching this. This is so awesome. Yeah. And to see more of that character, especially with the knowledge that he has that he's going to suffer this accident at some point, and still be so determined and so courageous in serving, doing his duty and such. It's really remarkable. I love the character. I love what Anson Mount's done. So definitely eagerly awaiting that show.
It adds such a layer to Pike that we didn't know existed. I mean, in the cage, he's spent. He's tired of deciding who lives and who dies. He's thinking about retiring. He's thinking about getting out. By the time we get to the menagerie, he's boop, boop. Yeah. And really, he doesn't have a lot to say other than that. He's kind of one note, boom, boom. But this
awful.
Fact, I know, thank you. This fact that Pike knows something about his future really adds a weight to this character that is really going to make for some interesting, character study and drama, Dan.
Well, yes. Before I go to that point, though, I got to 100% agree with you, Kyle, because as Bill knows, and as unfortunately as my wife knows, the night that episode played, I went absolutely berserk. It was probably the most exciting moment for me as a Star Trek fan, because as morbid as it sounds, for decades I have wanted to see that accident. That
absolutely,
had. And to be actually able to see that, I'm 100% serious. When as soon as that episode ended, we had the screener for it. I got on my phone and I sent a message to Bowie and Erica, the writers of that episode, in tears because I was so happy for what they brought in that one episode. It was unlike anything I've really ever experienced in a Star Trek episode until season 3 of Discovery, and we can get into that later. But Bill, to answer your question, yeah.
Oh, thank you for that impassioned defense.
Let's just cut out the other part and just go with yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That would be awesome. People on Patreon will hear it, but nobody else will. Kyle, do you think this effectively puts a pin in Section 31 for now? Because I mean, we haven't seen anything about that show. There's no PR site on the Viacom CBS Press Express. Whereas Picard had one day one, Strange New Worlds had one day one, Prodigy had one after the announcement over on the Nickelodeon press site. Do you think that this just sort of kicks that can down the road? Yeah, that's a good question, and I'm also really curious about that series because with Georgiou we got her kind of conclusion. Giorgio, sorry. We got her conclusion.
See, it happens.
Yeah, it's hard. Okay, speaking's hard. So, she spoilers. She jumps into the Guardian of Forever, and off she goes. And we don't know where she is, or when she's going, or what she's going to do, or who she's going to meet. And presumably, that's where that Section 31 series would take off, we assume. But yeah, you're right. We haven't heard anything about that. And you would think we would have by now, because how long are we going to remember that storyline from season 3 when we get Prodigy, Strange New Worlds, Picard season 2? There's going to be a lot of content in between now and then. And you would think they would want us to, keep thinking about it in some way and give us, I don't know, a promotional still or one of those little behind the scenes teasers that they're filming already, like they did for Discovery season 4. But yeah. Or even an update from Kurtzman or something like that. Just say like it's happening. Yeah. Yeah. Because at this point, I'm starting to believe it's not.
And I could very well be wrong. I freely admit this. This is just my gut feeling. I hope they're wrong because I really want to see Michelle Yeoh, at the top of a call sheet of a series, Dan.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've talked about this for a while. I mean, the way that that her storyline wrapped up in season 3 this year was perfect for that diving board of a new series. But it also could be just the end of her storyline. They kind of left it in a way that either way would kind of work. We know that she's going somewhere and that she's going to live. Or she's going to, as Bill mentioned in an episode we did not too long ago, maybe she'll pop up on the bridge of the Enterprise in the first episode of Strange New Worlds, and that will start her Section 31 show. I think that would be kind of cool if it happened. Whether or not it does, who knows? But there's so much Star Trek going on that I think it's very possible what you said, Kyle. If something is not updated soon, people are going to, not the diehard fans, but people are going to forget about it.
Yeah.
They're not going to remember what actually happened. And that could possibly be a bad thing. So I want it to happen. Everybody knows how much I love Section 31. I would love, like Bill said, I'd love to see her as the top name in a series. I just hope something comes out. I mean, they've been surprising us every few months now for a while. So who knows? Maybe they got something up their sleeve, Bill, that they're going to do in the coming months.
Well, here's hoping. So, Kyle, you brought a lot to the table.
Hold on. Bill
story.
just looked up his sleeve. Just
I did.
For people. Yeah, just
I did.
And I don't really know why.
Well, he said maybe they have something up their sleeve, and I said, well, there's something up my sleeve. I'm not that bright, Kyle.
Well, good luck.
Let it go.
Finding
Maybe
something.
he'll go jump out the window, Kyle. Oh.
No, stop. Come back.
That's how I feel every time Dan goes away. No, really, come back. So if that's the A game you're bringing, Kyle, you've got a great future here, and you might even get Dan's seat one of these days.
Oh, wow. Big seat to
Sooner rather
fill.
than later. Yeah.
It's a very big
I'm a
seat
big
to
guy,
fill.
yeah.
So what else do we have to reminisce about as far as 2020 goes?
So 2020 brought a really significant milestone for the franchise, and it's something that I don't know if anybody would have ever assumed back in 1970 that we would have gotten the 800th entry in the franchise. So counting TVs and movies, it was a Discovery episode called "There Is a Tide," and it was the second to last episode of the season, and that was the 800th entry of the franchise. It was directed by Jonathan Frakes, which was just kind of like the icing on the cake, and it was a good episode to boot. So fans had a lot to celebrate on that day, and here's to 800 more, right?
Dare I say it was the icing on the Frakes? Oh, the Fargism is still coming, folks. Don't worry.
You could say that. I don't know if you should.
I don't know that you should ever.
I'm sorry.
I have so many questions. The first of which is, why did I ever talk you into doing a podcast?
Dude, we haven't done a live show in 3 weeks. I got them all, I got them all lined up all night long.
I rue the day. It's amazing to think that 801 episodes now that Discovery season finale has aired is pretty substantive. However, it's not the most. I mean, you think of shows like Law and Order, the franchise of Law and Order, which currently has about 1,100 plus.
Wow.
Two of their shows have 400 episodes each. Which is pretty amazing. But for science fiction, for Star Trek, it's pretty jaw-dropping, Dan.
It really is, because when you think about it, back in the day when they didn't really have, before the mid-'80s, when it was just the original series, I can remember watching my VHS cassettes of one episode of the 79 original episodes from TOS over and over and over again, thinking that was all the Star Trek, and that was okay when you don't count the movies. Now, there are libraries of episodes and short treks and movies and animated series and other animated series. I mean, it's
diverse.
It's diverse. It's nonstop. And we've said it before, Kyle, has there ever been a time in not just our lives, but our parents' lives where there has been a better time to be a Star Trek fan than right now?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, maybe the 90s, but even then, I think we're in like the second golden age of Star Trek for sure, and we have so many really good things to look forward to. And certainly, it's we may have gotten more episodes on a regular basis back in the 90s, but the quality of these episodes now I think, at least from a production value, they're certainly far and away better than anything we got in the 90s. Of course, there are some fantastic Star Trek episodes from back in that heyday, but we have certainly the quality here to look forward to as well, and I think fans should certainly be thankful for that.
It's amazing to think that between the Berman era and now the Kurtzman era, we have added 722 episodes to the franchise, and that's since 1987. So realistically, in the last 30 plus years, 35 years, we've added the bulk of those shows, which is actually is even more staggering to think about in those terms. Yeah. Dan, you're right. For the longest time in our childhood, it was the 79, and that was it. And it wasn't until 1979 when we got the motion picture. I'm like, oh, they could do movies? And then we're lucky if we got one every couple of years. So, yeah, I think this is kind of rarefied air for television. I can't think of a franchise today that's going to hit 700, 800 episodes because of the short natures of seasons and the whole mystery box concept of television seasons. Kyle?
Yeah, that's a good point, because back in the day, there would be, 24 episodes in a season or so, and now we have 10 or 13. And so any franchise starting out now or just kind of hitting its stride, they're going to have a long way to catch up. Compared to Star Trek's, how many series of Star Trek had, a full 7 seasons at 24 episodes a season. So they got out there pretty fast.
Dan, Picard's going to have to run for 25 years in order to get to the kind of episode count that really needs to kick it up.
They'll just
Patrick
keep
Stewart's going to be like
clones.
105 or something.
He's going to make clones of Stewart. Keep putting him in that robot body. It's amazing when you think about it. We have more than 10 times the amount of Star Trek we had when I was watching those VHSs that I just talked about. That's unbelievable. And
now they're all accessible right from where you're sitting on your computer. Yeah. Or on your TV or whatever, on your phone.
Or on your phone.
You could be on an airplane watching Star Trek, and
One of the cool things about it, though, when you mentioned it, they may be shorter episodes, but I've said it 100 times. It's cinematic television. It is done the technology and the stories are so immersive, and the special effects are like nothing we've ever seen before. Does it make sense that they're shorter seasons? Yeah. Do I want them to be 24? Yep. Yeah. But then I'm also afraid that might suffer a little bit. So I'm good with it the way it is right now.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, you talked about that cinematic quality. There's 42 episodes of Discovery now, roughly, and 10 episodes of Picard. We've got 50 mini movies. Yeah. And that's just going to continue with Strange New Worlds, with Section 31, with the heretofore unnamed live action series that is allegedly in somebody's back pocket over at Secret Hideout that they have yet to announce. And then you start adding on, I know, right? You start adding on the animated series. Lower Decks has 10, and I think Prodigy, I don't know how many Prodigy's supposed to have. I think maybe 13, possibly. But and then the short treks, which are 15-minute mini movies. It certainly is one hell of a time to be a fan. And the best part is as Star Trek goes on and as decades go on, the quality is just going to get even better, if you can imagine that.
Yeah, we're going to get episodes in our own little holodecks.
Yeah,
and be able to experience it ourselves. Yeah,
they'll beam it right into your brain.
I can phaser Bill for real.
Wow.
No, not at all. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I was going to say, do you think, I'm going to give my opinion, and I'm sure you guys are going to agree with me. I am so tired of hearing the distinction of new Trek versus old Trek. It is Star Trek.
Agreed.
800 entries of Star Trek, and the people that want to continue to differentiate the two can take a hike. It's infuriating to listen to, because as Star Trek fans, we should appreciate all 800 individual entries to that bill.
Well, I remember back in '87 when Next Gen premiered, and it was Star Trek and that new show. And I admit it straight up. I was one of the people who didn't like TNG when it first premiered. Honestly, the first few episodes, I know, the first few episodes really weren't.
Well, understandable. For season 1.
Yeah. The naked now. That's all I'm going to say. Code of honor.
Code of honor. Yeah.
But over time, it occurred to me that, it's got Star Trek in the name. It is Star Trek. And then as you ease into it, it washes over you. It wins you over. And by the time Next Gen's over, you're like, damn, that was a great series.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, Dan. It's all Star Trek. People are going to look back at Discovery 25 years from now and go, damn, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And the rest of us who've been saying it all along are going to go, yep, I told you.
Mm-hmm.
Discovery especially, I mean, Discovery so thoroughly embodies the Star Trek spirit so well that it's going to be classified as certainly quintessential Star Trek. If it isn't now, then it will be in retrospect.
Bill, how many times this season alone in season 3 did you say this episode was, quote, so Star Trek? And what you said, Kyle, is a perfect example of that. I mean, it's the writers are Star Trek fans. They are people who understand the franchise. They are people who love the franchise as much as we do. So whenever I hear these people saying this isn't real Star Trek, I just scratch my head. I'm like, what are you smoking? Because it's just completely off base. But that's just me.
Well, I think that those gatekeepers and self-appointed guardians of the franchise, whom nobody wants to guard the franchise, just have a hard time accepting new things. I mean, these are the people who seem to forget that people hated Next Gen when it first came on, and people hated Deep Space Nine when it first came on, and people hated Voyager and Enterprise when they first came on. But now they've all got selective amnesia, and they look back and go, oh, that's all Star Trek.
Yeah. When
there was a big chorus of naysayers and boos when every one of those shows premiered, quite frankly. So
absolutely.
Time will prove them wrong too. That's all I can say.
You know what really grinds my gears?
Dan Davidson.
Wow.
No.
I'll give you that one. I've gotten 3 zingers in on you tonight, so that's all right.
It's funny you think they're zingers. That's cute. So Kyle, that's 2 down. 2020 is looking pretty good so far as Star Trek goes.
Yeah, and I got more. So one kind of out of the blue thing that at least out of the blue for me and probably a lot of people, Star Trek Prodigy has Kate Mulgrew coming back to voice Janeway, which is really exciting. So we last saw Janeway in 2002 in Star Trek Nemesis. And so when they announced it last year, that means it would have been 18 years since Janeway was seen or heard from. And wow, 18 years. Oof. Okay. But in any case, she's coming back. We don't know, the extent of her role or what she'll be doing or what anybody will be doing because not a whole lot about the show is known, except that it's a kid's show on Nickelodeon. It's going to be computer generated animation and not like in the style of Lower Decks. So it's going to be different animation than that. Really adds some diversity to Star Trek's offerings, which is great. And as a new dad, I'm a little more interested in kid shows that come out now than perhaps I would have been, before. But I'm really excited to see how Kate brings back her really famous role. She's obviously so good as Janeway. She was so good, quite the trailblazer, quite the leader, and it was fantastic news. Twitter blew up that day when they announced that she was coming back, and rightly so.
I only wish that they could have had that announcement on stage in Vegas like they did for Patrick Stewart coming back for Picard, because I think it would have brought the house down in a very similar way, Dan.
Oh, absolutely. That's a moment that I'll never forget when Sir Patrick was on stage saying Jean-Luc Picard is back. But I got to tell you, that day of Kate Mulgrew's announcement, I was buried at work. I could not watch any of the things going on, but all I know is that, like you said, Kyle, Twitter went nuts. And I actually found out about this from my nephew in London sending me a text saying, what is going on with Kate Mulgrew? And I was scared for a second that something bad had happened. No. So that's how I found out. So I was able to then, stop what I was doing at work and look up things and see that this was happening. And her video with Kurtzman to make that announcement was absolutely perfect. She had a quote in there. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it was perfect about letting in all of these young minds into this universe. And it was just fantastic. And it shows that her heart and soul is still in the role. And I think it's fantastic, Bill.
It's because of that announcement I actually decided to try watching Star Wars Rebels.
Yes.
Because what Kurtzman wants to do is to bring younger viewers into the franchise.
Yes.
Totally get it.
Yes.
And if it's executed anything like Rebels, I think it's going to be wildly successful, because Rebels, I think, is better than some of the Star Wars movies, quite honestly, Kyle.
Yes. So clearly, I'm a fan of the Star Wars animated shows. So Clone Wars and Rebels are fantastic additions to that franchise. And Clone Wars, in my opinion, makes Revenge of the Sith a better movie. It fills in a lot of continuity. It makes you feel a lot more for these characters that we had previously only seen parts of in either Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith. So those animated offerings brought so much to the franchise. I'm really excited for Star Trek to start doing the same thing.
I have a theory with regard to Prodigy. And Dan, I think we've talked about this briefly on Trek Geeks.
Yep.
And that is, I think that the ship will be the Voyager. And I think they're going to find it somewhere in the future. And Janeway will be a holographic construct guiding the people aboard. And I say that because they keep referring to Kate coming back as Captain Janeway. Mm-hmm. And since she's already an admiral, that doesn't really sound right. So in my own head canon, I think that's kind of where they're going with the series, and you boys can now discuss.
Maybe she stole the Voyager to go back in time to save some catfish from going extinct.
All right, shut up, Dan. Kyle.
I have an intelligent thing to say. So, have either of you guys picked up the autobiography of Captain Janeway?
Yes. I'm about 50 pages in. Okay,
cool. So I reviewed that for Trek News, and I noted one really interesting thing, among many interesting things. But, time to kind of put on my tinfoil hat. At the end of the book, Janeway mentions how she has a daughter. So that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Her name is Amelia, and she went to Starfleet Academy. And we get a picture of Janeway and Amelia in the book. So what if Janeway's daughter becomes kind of like her mother in that they're kind of exploring space? They're kind of a group of teenagers running around the galaxy, kind of guided or advised by Kate Mulgrew.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know. I haven't read the book yet. It's obviously on my lengthy list of books I haven't gotten to. But I think that's a really good angle. I like that even a little better than mine, quite honestly, Dave.
It would be kind of a strange inclusion of having Janeway have a daughter, in this supposedly canonical book, right? It's an autobiography of Janeway. Yep. So to drop the fact that she has a daughter and then not do anything with it elsewhere would be interesting.
Yeah. We'll see. I like that idea a lot, and I like it a lot better than my dumb catfish idea. So congratulations.
They might run across catfish. We don't know.
This is going to drive the Janeway Chakotay shippers nuts if she has a daughter, and there's no explanation.
Well,
my phone's ringing. Sorry about that.
Read the book, and it provides a really interesting explanation as to how and why she has a daughter. That's all I'll say.
I will have to do that, and that's assuming that I learn how to read, which we all know Dan is touch and go.
I read a lot of Star Trek books.
I said me.
I know.
Both of you.
I'm just telling you.
Wow.
He fits right in. He's like over number 3 right now.
That's why you just talk. You don't write.
Wow. I see that this is going to become more and more tedious as the news goes on. What else do you have, Hadyniak?
So, wow, good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the last really big thing was, one, the fact that we got Star Trek Picard last year, which first of all seems so long ago. It debuted in January, so it really was a long time ago. And particularly the last episode of that season, we got a resolution to Data's storyline that we never knew we wanted or needed, and it was such a beautiful conclusion to that much beloved character. I don't want to really say what happens because maybe some people haven't watched it. They're getting around to it.
It's been long enough.
You think so?
Spoiler alert. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, go.
Right, exactly. So basically Picard and Data, they get to have a final conversation, and it touches upon the kind of the turmoil Picard was feeling throughout the season. And it explains, what Data was doing while he was "quote unquote" dead, and it's really just a touching, emotional scene. I love it. The one part that always gets me is when we see Data finally, ultimately die with Picard next to him, and they're in the uniforms, and then the image of Picard and Data transitions into like a stardusty nebula, and that scene was just so beautiful. And what Brent Spiner brought back to that character and what, of course, Patrick Stewart brought back. It was remarkable. It put a great ending on, the first scene of that show with Data and Picard on the Enterprise D. And it was wonderful. And in that show itself, we got other TNG characters as well. So really a shout out to Star Trek Picard in its entirety, and specifically that last episode.
I can't agree more. It's hard to believe that it was a year ago, Dan. We were in Los Angeles for the red carpet premiere of Star Trek Picard. Mm-hmm. And if you told me it was 365 days ago, I would think you were lying, because I feel like 5 years have gone by.
It really does, and it just goes to show what the pandemic has done with our recognition of the passage of time, because it does feel like it was years ago when it was literally just about a year and a few days. Kyle, I got to agree 100% with you on that aspect of the Picard finale. It was a very emotional scene, and I was sad, and I was feeling the feels. But when Data started to age before our very eyes, I completely fell apart like a blubbering fool. Yeah, and anybody who was in the room with me were probably like, what is going on? And with Issa Brione singing Blue Skies, I mean, those different things that happened in that finale is what made it all come together so perfectly. Yeah. The Riker and Troy story was great to see, but that whole wrap up of Data, Picard's been suffering from his death since Nemesis, and to have it finally wrapped up in such a beautiful way was what made that series so very special, at least for me.
I appreciated that this show is exactly what they said it was going to be, and it's not the next generation of the next generation. Yes, they had to work in an element. I mean, you can't have Picard and not have a little bit of crossover with some characters, but I appreciated that this looked at Picard as a man who has made some mistakes since he left Starfleet, and even during Starfleet, and has a chance to confront them. I thought it showed real growth for Picard, and that's just something that you don't get in episodic format, and I think that's why I'm so excited for season 2, quite honestly.
Yeah, whenever we get it, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I know that filming has been put back on the back burner, if memory serves, because filming in California has pretty much stopped.
Right. I think Patrick Stewart said he's seen the first maybe 4 scripts. So they've been at least, hard at work writing and figuring out how it all plays out. And, I would imagine they'll probably get to a point where they could start filming maybe this summer, I would guess. Mm-hmm. The pandemic will be hopefully kind of subsided by then to do some filming. But otherwise, yeah, I'm sure it'll be worth the wait.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the whole idea, we know that Jerry's going to be back. She's made mention of that on Twitter. She's going to be back as Seven. And of course, the great character building that took place through all of these characters through season 1 is great. The possibility of Whoopi Goldberg joining them as Guinan is very big, I think, even though she was only in a few episodes, just that whole dynamic of those two characters of Picard and Guinan, seeing that happen in the series, I don't think would be fan service at all. I think it would be a great storyline. So I'm really looking forward to what they bring in season 2 of Picard, Bill.
I have no problem with fan service, even when it actually is fan service. The thing that people complain about as fan service is actually just growing characters in a new era. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, good point. Absolutely.
That's just good drama, good writing. So, wow, that's pretty awesome, Kyle. That's a pretty good 2020. Is there anything you're looking forward to as far as 2021 specifically?
I like how 2021 is going to be kind of a year of production. And so 2022 will likely be just a banger of a year, but production this year it'll be we'll get Prodigy, and that's already in production, in a good way. We'll get hopefully Lower Decks season 2, which, by the way, I love Lower Decks. It's the most enjoyable series from 2020 for me overall. I love half-hour comedies. It was hilarious. The writers are obviously huge Star Trek fans, and
dare I say, guys, that Lower Decks might be the best season 1 of Star Trek ever?
Agreed. Sure.
Yeah. No, okay. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
It's amazing to think that we got another animated series after almost 50 years of not having an animated series. And it was light years better than I think anyone thought.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll get season 2 of that. Strange New Worlds, Prodigy, Picard will be in production. And maybe there's a Section 31 series, happening somewhere. We'll see. But in any case, a lot of things are happening for Star Trek this year, and we're going to see the fruits of the labor next year or later this year.
Before we talk about some other 2020 stories that I know the other seasoned newsman on this podcast has tucked away, and of course that's the lovely and talented Dan Davidson. So on Discovering Trek, every episode we make a series of predictions that we call long range scans, and 99 times out of 100, there's no way they could possibly come true. Is there one giant, wing and a prayer prediction you want to make for 2021?
Okay, there's not supposed to be.
Oh, he's doing his Rin impersonation right now. That's pretty amazing.
I thought you were talking to Dan.
No, that's you. That's you, Kyle.
Any wild thing I want to see?
Yeah, what would you like to see? What do you think? If you could wish for anything you wanted, what might that be?
Well, anything I want, huh?
It's Star Trek, Kyle.
Yeah. I would love. I'm a huge gamer. And we haven't had a good, all respect to the Star Trek Online folks because they do a great job. But to have like a single player, AAA Star Trek title, make it like an RPG that you can go out, explore, talk to people, something like Mass Effect, something that like BioWare in its heyday would have made. That would be just fantastic. Even just if we got a announcement for that. Clearly, I don't think this year we would get anything like that. But that would be something that would fill in, quite the media tie-in with the modern slate of Star Trek stuff. So that would be fantastic.
That's pretty good. I got to admit, I think I would like to see that. I have a hard time, as much as I enjoy Star Trek Online, I don't game very often. So every time I play it, it's like I'm learning it all over again.
Right? Yeah.
And it's tough because I never really got into MMO games. Whereas Dan, I know, played World of Warcraft for about 100 years.
And we're back into it. I was playing it right before I signed on. Sue and I, we're like into it every night now, all the time. It's crazy.
That's pretty fantastic.
So in regards to a prediction for 2021 for me, guys, this is my prediction, and I don't want to sound negative when I say this, but it's not one that I'm super excited for, but I'm going to say I think it's a prediction. I think they're going to announce another movie. But I'm not that jazzed up for it. I gotta say, with all of the rumors that are out there and all this and that and contracts and directors and storylines and rated R, I'm happy with what we have with CBS right now. And if one is announced, which would be my prediction for 21, I'm gonna be like, oh great. But until I start seeing trailers and more information, I'm not all jazzed about it. Bill?
So you think they're going to go full on Marvel to some extent?
Yeah.
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 Crossing the streams between TV and film and all that. Well, I see. I think at first it worked, but for Marvel, between like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the movie universe. But I think it became far too laborious because if you didn't catch all of the movies in the theater, you'd come back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like I did and be wondering what the hell is going on. Right.
I think maybe if they do, okay, we'll tell you what, fans, we're going to do one more Kelvin timeline universe and that's going to be it. That way they can wrap that up, whether they are able to get the timeline situation back to normal or whether they just wrap up that aspect of the Star Trek universe with the Kelvin timeline. I think that would be my prediction. I'm going to have one more Kelvin movie that will be announced in 2021 for maybe a 2023 release or something like that.
I totally think CBS is doing just fine. Obviously I'll pay whatever they want me to pay to go see another movie in theaters, but the Kelvin movies did their job in that they reinvigorated the franchise. True. And they attracted a newer, broader audience and a new aesthetic. And we don't need really another movie like that. I love the movie-esque TV seasons that we get, and
agreed.
I like the Kelvin timeline fine. Those characters can continue in comics and books and such, but I wouldn't be heartbroken if we never got another one of those movies.
Yeah, see, it's kind of like a, oh, okay, great type thing. Yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I feel like Star Trek Beyond cost north of $200 million to
and it didn't make a whole lot. Yeah,
it didn't make a whole lot, and they can get 2 hours of a movie or 13 hours of a really good series for probably a similar investment. I think that I think the math is pretty easy there. I think they're going to get more bang for their buck by introducing a brand new series or maybe even an anthology series, which I've never been really big on. But if they're not going to do movies, I could see them doing something like that.
Sure.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, Dan, you have the floor. I know there are a couple of stories that have been sort of tacking away at your single brain cell that you have left.
I don't even know if it's there anymore, man, but
probably not.
I'll give it my best. I had 4 things that I actually jotted down. 2 of them we've already talked about because Kyle is fantastic at what he does with his contributions to TrekNews.net, and that's Picard and Lower Decks. Great new shows, and of course the announcement of Strange New Worlds was something. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about for 2020 is actually a negative thing, and that's the pandemic canceling cons across the world for the whole year. That really affected fandom, I think. And it really affected the connection that we like to have with these stars. Not only to say anything about the fact of probably a major piece of income for all of these actors and people didn't have that coming in like they normally would. And I got to say, the biggest hurt for all of that is the fact that Voyager didn't get the recognition that it deserved in its anniversary year.
25 years, right?
Yeah. We've talked about that a lot. We had a year-long celebration here on the podcast with Voyager 25, and we're going to continue it with Voyager 26 because it deserves it. But I think, COVID has done so much and it's been devastating. So not going to a con is not a big thing in the grand scheme of things, but it really was a huge punch in the gut for fans and for the cast alike.
I agree with that. It was big for me because, Star Trek Las Vegas re-energized my fandom every single year.
Yeah.
Producing weekly content is hard. And we produce Trek Geeks, at least 40 to 45 times a year. And we do Discovering Trek weekly whenever the show is in season. So we're looking at 60 episodes a year of Star Trek podcasts, and that can be a little draining at times. And so getting to see the Trek family at Star Trek Las Vegas, man, it's a shot in the arm. And to not have that this year, don't get me wrong, I love producing podcasts, I love doing podcasts, but to get that break and to see the people who love the thing the same way you love the thing is pretty amazing. And I think that's really the roughest takeaway from 2020 for me, Kyle.
Yeah, and I'm also, it's sad that cons have been canceled left and right, but kind of the saving grace that I like to think is perhaps now with virtual events, you're able to get actors and actresses who you might not normally otherwise would get out to Vegas or wherever else. And I remember thinking about that when Scott Bakula did one of these cons in 2020. And I remember thinking, when was the last time Scott Bakula was at a con? Not that I've seen. And, so he's one of those that maybe he's working too much and he just can't really, make it out and can't schedule and whatever else. But that could be one thing that maybe comes out of this mess. And, seeing more of these people, even if they're not in person, is fine by me. I'm not as eager a con goer as you guys, but I've been to a few and they were certainly, a lot of fun. But I'm happy just to watch, virtual cons on my computer here and see what these folks that we don't normally see have to say.
Well, now that you have a baby in the house, you're not going to cons for at least 18 years.
Yeah. Well, no, she's coming with me.
It's funny that you say that. And Bill, you mentioned it a little bit. One of the things that was so disappointing for not being able to go to these conventions like Vegas that we look forward to is getting together with our Trek family, with the friends that we've made from this podcast and spending time with them. It's great to see the cast members and listen to the panels and get autographs and hear stories, but being able to be with those people and have drinks at the bar every night with them and really just have a good time. I did my first cosplay really ever at STLV a couple years ago and had the time of my life. Those are the things that I really missed when we didn't have it this year. And I'm praying to God that next year happens, or this year, I should say, in August, because it has to. I really think it has to happen. So hopefully it will.
Dan, who kind of feels like it's. Go ahead,
What's
Dan.
that?
You cosplay. Who were you?
Oh, I did Galt from Gamesters of Triskelion.
Oh wow!
And it was
Deep cut.
I had the best time. I grew the beard funny, and I had the cloak made and the collar, and I had lights in it. It was just fantastic. I had the time of my life.
He made it to the final round of the costume contest at STLV.
Sweet. And there were a lot of customers at STLV for sure. So congratulations.
Yes, and bippity boop boop boop. Captain Pike won, and it was pretty awesome too. So
And then he sold his chair.
yeah, I did.
Ooh. That was pretty amazing.
That's funny.
Yep.
I have to agree with you. I mean, I really am hoping for August. I'm starting to make plans for August. Here in New Hampshire, our age bracket, Dan, is supposed to get the vaccine sometime between March and May.
Right.
So that leaves me hopeful for con season.
Yeah.
Last year, I kind of got through 2020 on the hope that we were still going to have cons at the end of the year. And then we didn't. So now that's kind of my hope again. And if we get to late summer 2021 and it's not happening, I don't know. I'm going to jump out a window, Dan.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm really hoping that that it happens. It'll be great to get back together with all our friends from all across the country and the world, for that matter, that show up in Vegas. But on to positive. Another thing I wanted to talk about.
I want to bring up just one more thing that Kyle mentioned about virtual cons. And people are doing those things that you might not have seen or might not have seen do other events. And I have to believe, Kyle, that that's the only reason we got Frakes to do a fundraiser with us for Feeding America.
Oh,
live
interesting.
stream.
Yeah.
We took a flyer and reached out and said, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And he said yes in a heartbeat. And we booked it, and we raised $5,000 in a night.
Sweet.
And that's 50,000 meals for Feeding America, which is amazing. And that's all because this pandemic was happening. Frakes is a busy guy. He's constantly working.
Yeah.
If this were the normal, work schedule for him, there's no way he'd been able to do that. No way.
He's the best for sure.
He really he's such a professional, and he has a good time talking to us. We had a blast that night. It's one of those nights that I'll never forget. We live streamed it, and like I said, 50,000 meals for Feeding America. That's a huge number. It's hard to comprehend a number that big.
Actually, it's kind of easy because it's 50,000.
Yeah, that's a lot of meal. I'm thinking in terms of meals.
Yeah.
You big jerk.
So anyway, sorry, apologies for interrupting you, Dan.
That's okay. That's all right. The other thing I wanted to bring up in terms of 2020, and Kyle, we talked a little bit about it earlier. There have been 3 times and I hate to say it, but I have to say it to get the context of the new Trek generation. The new Trek has happened in Discovery. There have been 3 times that I've completely jumped out of my skin. One was the season finale of season 1 of Discovery.
Agreed.
When the Enterprise showed up.
Yeah.
That was a moment where I was at my sister's house. I started jumping up and down, yelling, and they all thought I was.
When you start seeing the 1-7, yeah, agreed.
Yeah. And the new look of the Enterprise I thought was amazing.
Gorgeous.
2 was what we already talked about.
Pike.
And that was the accident from Pike. That was just one of those moments that, goosebumps, just thinking about it right now. I'm literally getting goosebumps on my arm thinking about it. The other one was this season of Discovery, and it was in December, I believe. So we're still in 2020. And that was the Guardian of Forever.
Oh, yeah.
When that voice came over the screen, I am the Guardian of Forever. And then it exploded to show it. My wife did not know what was going on. We had to stop and rewind the episode to watch it again because she had no idea what had just happened because I was screaming. Right. I was so excited. Those are the moments when I am so happy that we have the people writing these stories that we do because they know that they're going to get that reaction from people. And those are possibly the 3 top moments in my Star Trek life have been all wrapped around in Discovery's first 3 seasons.
Yeah, certainly great examples. And I agree about the Guardian of Forever. Unfortunately, because I'm such a Twitter hound, I saw numerous people making observations about the newspaper from the episode before the reveal. Yeah. And so that really was a strong hint that basically guaranteed that it had something to do with the Guardian. But if I hadn't known about that, and if that explosion we saw in that episode was the first time I had seen or heard anything about the Guardian that season, I would have absolutely lost it. As it was, I was really excited, but kudos to the eagle-eyed viewers who were able to decipher that newspaper.
It was done so well, you can bet that Harlan Ellison would have sued somebody were he still alive.
Yeah.
I hate to say it in those terms, but I mean, Harlan was a pretty litigious guy.
I liked how they used the archive voice and not a new voice.
Oh,
yeah.
That was just like the key detail you needed.
That was the moment when that first started, and then they blended it in with the actor's voice. That's when I completely freaked out. And the modernization look of the Guardian was just absolutely
fine.
spectacular.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, I loved it.
Dan, I would like to correct your record. There are actually 4 moments you've jumped out of your skin as far as Star Trek Discovery. The 4th being Talos 4.
Oh God, yes, my God, how could I forget that? Yeah, Talos 4 and the sounds. The plants, and she touched a plant and it stopped the sound, and the Talosians, just absolutely fantastic. I actually talked to Bill once before that episode of Discovery about somehow being a Talosian as my first cosplay, and even working in some way that
you got the head for it already. Yeah,
I thank you very much. You're never coming on the show again, but
he'll be back next week.
Hey, I'm heading there too. Okay.
Somehow work in a way that the necklace had some kind of speaker, and he would be my voice projecting through that speaker. Very complicated, but when you've never done a cosplay, you think of all kinds of
the ideas. Yeah,
but so to see the Talosians come back was absolutely fantastic. So yes, I stand corrected, Bill, 4 times, and they're all been in Discovery.
They've all been in Discovery.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to get more of that in Strange New Worlds, quite frankly. I have to believe that show is going to be amazing. Simply just because of the people they've assembled to be part of it. I could take or leave Akiva Goldsman, but I believe that this is something that is a passion project for him. And I think that it'll be close to the Star Trek people have been hoping for. Yet there's still going to be people who bitch about it. Don't get me wrong.
Oh God, yeah.
But
what? No.
I think, I know. What a shock! I'm stunned. But I honestly can't wait. Well, gents, here we are. It's a new year. I wish you both nothing but the best. Well, Kyle, I wish you nothing but the best. I got to deal with Dan for another year.
I hope you're okay.
Yeah.
Just a year? That's so funny.
Kyle, where can folks find you online?
Twitter. Like I said, I'm all over Twitter at KHADY93, Khady, Kyle Hadyniak 93, my birth year. I'm super creative that way. And so you can head all over there and follow me, follow TrekNews.net on Twitter. Let me plug one thing for you guys, since we talked about me being a new father, which is really exciting. I wrote a piece for Trek News about what I have taken away from Star Trek now that I'm kind of embarking on the journey of parenthood. And so if you have kids and you like Star Trek, you'll probably find something interesting in that article. I'm pretty proud of it. It's gotten a really good reception online. So check it out if you haven't already. And thank you to those who already have.
And I was going to bring that up actually, if you hadn't, Kyle, because it is a fantastic piece and so thoughtful. And I appreciate your perspective as a new parent. And I can only imagine what the human adventure is going to bring for you and your wife and for Kira.
Exactly. Yeah. The human adventure is just beginning.
There you go. Well, Mr. Hadyniak.
Wow.
See? Yeah. Congratulations. Happy New Year. I am so happy for you and your wife. And Kira, I can't wait to meet her virtually, even at some point. It'd be great. It's great to see you. It's great to hear from you. It's great to read all the stuff that you do over on TrekNews.net. And we will definitely be having you back because, as Bill said, he might fire me and we might need you.
We just got to gang up on you. That's all. Yeah. Happy to help out.
Well, buddy, that brings our first brand new show of 2020 to a close. But there's one thing we forgot to talk about, and that is this is the 6th anniversary of Trek Geeks. We touched on a little bit ago with Kyle, and it's amazing to think that 6 years ago we put out the hostage tape.
Unbelievable! What a great what a great amount of time it's been kicking off our 6th anniversary. It's mind-boggling. Who would have thought that us two geeks at the time in Maine and one in New Hampshire would be doing this for as long as we've been doing it, loving it as much as we have loved it. Had so many new friends come along and meet us in Vegas, and we have a bigger Star Trek family now as a result of this. There are so many things that I am so thankful for this podcast. You came to me with the idea, and dude, happy anniversary, because it's truly been a remarkable experience so far, and it's just beginning.
It's I feel like we're still learning what we're doing.
That's because I'm dumb.
Well, no, I mean, because it changes all the time. The Star Trek we get to watch changes. I mean, we get new episodes now constantly for the most part. There's always new developments. There's, it's not living off the same content that we had for 20 plus years. We're not wishing and hoping and waiting that there would be more Star Trek someday, because for the last several years we've had it, and we've been fortunate enough to be able to talk about it with so many great people. So
yeah, and what's interesting is right now as we record, we're kind of going through withdrawals because we just ended 23 straight weeks of brand new Star Trek. When was the last time that happened where we had 23 weeks of new Star Trek? That was like what, Enterprise season 4? How long ago was that? That was a long time ago.
Well, technically they were only doing 22 episodes a season back then. Okay. So it'd be back to Voyager.
That's even longer. 25 plus years. Well, 20 years if you count season 7.
Yeah.
Math. That's not my forte. But it's not. But it is.
Don't I know
easy.
It is. Math is easy. So here we are, 6 years down the road, almost 250 episodes under our belt. And I feel like in many ways we're still just getting started. So sincere thanks to everyone that has ever downloaded and listened and loved or hated the show, because it's provided us some useful feedback and some great knowledge. And it goes without saying that without all of you, we would not be here doing this.
Oh, absolutely. 100% in agreement. We do it because the people like to listen to us talk about Star Trek for some ungodly reason. I still can't figure it out, but you know what? We're here because you guys support us. We love the fact that you support us. We love all of you for listening and downloading and giving us that feedback, whether positive or negative. We always take it and use it to be a better show, and we will continue to do that. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sure from the bottom of Bill's heart. Happy 6th anniversary, man. And when we're celebrating our 60th anniversary, then we'll have a conversation.
You realize in that point we'll both squarely be in the hundreds as far as our age,
so
right?
Was Dr. McCoy, and look where he was on the TNG Enterprise 1701D.
Well, there you have it. Dan, somebody else that we are incredibly grateful for is the band 5-Year Mission. This entire 6 years, they have been a part of our show, and now they're a part of our podcast network. We want everyone to head out to 5yearmission.net, get all their albums. We just recently did an episode of Farkisms, Supercut, and I know what happens next. And I've been kind of preparing myself for this because I can't imagine that the 6th year is going to start off any better than the last one ended. So just do it.
It's 2021, man. A look of positiveness. It's a new horizon. So let's start the year off with a great Farkas. I mean, they're all great, but let's start off with a really great one. Don't make that face anymore. I'll tell you, man, I got to say, though, another great thing was season 3 of Discovery. I mean, it was pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie. From the very first scene all the way up through the last moment of the season finale, the storytelling was great and the character building was just top notch. They even had cool themes in some episodes, if you can remember, like a Western bar. You remember that episode, Bill? It was after Discovery crash landed on that icy planet. Saru and Tilly look for inhabitants of an old dilithium mining facility, and they kind of end up in what looks like a bar of sorts. Then all of a sudden the bad guy sachets in with his stirrup boots. He was a tough hombre, thinking just because he's the best drummer in the quadrant, he has the right to control everyone and demand anything he wants. But Philippa set him straight with a couple good right hooks, and Tilly and Saru sent him off to his pitiful little band. You remember it was season 3, episode 2, Far From Home.
I've got so many questions. The first of which is, a bad guy using a dance move to come through the door? I don't think I can envision him sashaying through the door. I would think in a Western he'd mosey on in.
Moonwalk. Hip,
oh
block,
my.
stop. With the stirrup boots. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
Fark from home.
Classic. Parasitic ice.
Oh, you're a parasite, I assure you. Don't forget, 5yearmission.net, please go get all their albums. Make this all stop. Don't forget, you too can support the Trek Geeks Podcast Network by subscribing to us on Patreon, where you can get all kinds of special exclusive perks.
Yeah, that's right. We wouldn't be here without the support of our beloved patrons, and we pride ourselves on the special swag that we offer, like, the annual supporters pin produced by our friends over at Fansets, and our annual t-shirt. And hey, a little bird told me recently, Bill, that we're going to possibly have some new tier perks coming your way in 2021. Just saying. But right now, we want to take a moment to thank our associate producers for Trek Geeks. We are so grateful for their support. Dave Andrews, Vikram Bhatt, Luke Burnham, Brad DeMag, William Edward M. Jr., Brandon Everidge, Andy Fark, Kimberly Francis, Jonathan Hamilton, Brooke Horton, Ryan Jeffs, John Krikorian, Sean Lynn, Rick Mason, Jamie McGregor, Aaron Mollenkoff, Shane Murray, Casey Pettit, Tim Robertson, Greg Rozier, Eric Sakian, Adam Sanders, Blake Strike, Tim Serdar, Heather Sohn, Lisa Tomlinson, Jessica Dax Vincent, Trey Womack, Ron Robel, and the gracious and wonderfully wardrobed Conrad Hutchins.
What, do you need to take a break after that? You look really winded.
That's fantastic.
It really is. And I'm amazed that you can make it through it every single week without messing one of them up. We, of course, also want to thank our Trek Geeks producers for their support. They are Mike Bovia, Chaz Bradshaw, Ken Bird, Kyle Castillo, Peter Craig, Craig Ewing, Al Godwin, Jackie and Chris Hackney, Kimberly Hartman, David Hood, Tony Lambast, Leonel Marchand, Matt McGonigal, Jim McMahon, Charlie Mulvey, Sean O'Halloran, Jamie Rogers, Casey Shafsky, Chris Trabuzio, Ken Tripp, Christina Werther, and the lovely and talented Jess Vashon.
You too can become a producer on the Trek Geeks Network, and it is so easy to do. Head on over to patreon.com/TrekGeeks for all the details.
Dan, next week it's time to kick off yet another year-long celebration. This is becoming a habit for us, and I gotta say, I'm here for it. Let's see. First there was Trek 50, and then there was TNG 30, followed by DS9 25 and Voyager 20, and I have faith of the heart that you know what's coming next.
If you ever use that phrase again, I am going to shoot you out an airlock. And I'm getting ready to set that up right now because we're going to have to deal with it all year long. You've been warned. Now that I've said that, we're going to continue with Voyager 21. Voyager 21, because they kind of got shafted with COVID, and we are thrilled to be able to do that. But we are very excited to kick off our year-long celebration of Archer, T'Pol, Hoshi, Trip, Mayweather, Phlox, and Reed. It was 4 seasons of exploration and season-long arcs. Next week, we kick off Enterprise 20 right here on Trek Geeks, the flagship of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
I'm looking forward to this one. It's a show that just keeps getting more and more love as it time goes on, and it's going to be good to rewatch. Plus, we've got Discovering Trek Enterprise starting up very soon over on Discovering Trek with Sarah and Casey, so that'll be pretty exciting.
Fantastic. Too. Can't wait.
Speaking of which, for more great Star Trek discussion, please check out the other member podcasts of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. In addition to Rewind and Politirex, 5-Year Mission, Infinite Trek, Deep Space Pride, and the aforementioned Discovering Trek, now you can hear the latest podcast to the network, The Divine Treasury, a Star Trek Collectibles podcast with Jamie Rogers and Mike Bovia. Of course, you can find all our podcasts, including Where to Listen, by visiting trekgeeks.com/listen.
The Trek Geeks Podcast Network. No one talks Trek like we do.
And of course, for all the news on all the Star Trek show, please visit our great friends at treknews.net. For now, this has been episode number 247 of the Trek Geeks Podcast. Happy New Year. Live long and prosper. What was that? This is a new year, and that's what you're bringing to the table?
Low, because through the rest of the year, I'm going like a rocket ship straight up, baby. You're going to have coconut like you've never seen before. I want to set expectations accordingly.
You would never hear me say this under normal circumstances, but I demand some actual
coconut.
Music for Trek Geeks is provided by 5-Year Mission. They're writing an original song for each episode of Star Trek. Hear more of their music at 5yearmission.net. Trek Geeks is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Bing bong.
Soft key. Bing bong.
Don't do that.
I just know you love that so much.
It makes me want to throw. No, it makes me want to throw up in the
That's
back of my
why I do
mouth. Happy New Year, jerk.
And to you, friend. See, just the difference is amazing. It's like not.
Well, that's because you made me throw up in my mouth.
But it's because I love you.
No,
A little
no,
throw
you
up
don't.
in the morning just shows I love you.
There are just so many places to take that, none of which are appropriate
None
for this
at all.
podcast.
And so, yeah, Happy New Year, pal. It's good to see you.
It's our first new show of the year.
And it was a good few weeks off, and people got what they wanted. They got outtakes, and they got Farkisms.
I am amazed that, you started doing Farkisms, I think, around episode 53 or something like that. And the first Farkisms episode is an hour long, and that took us all the way up to episode 100.
So we only have 147 left, plus.
Well, by the time we get to the next
Yeah.
one, who knows how many there will be. But roughly, 45, 50 episodes should be another hour. So we're going to have a ways to go. We got like 4 or 5 volumes of this coming.
It's funny because that's a lot of work, and thank you for the work that you do for that, because I know that the fans appreciate it much more than I do, because it's what they want. But anyway, it makes me
Wait! You write the Farkisms,
I
you
know, but
idiot!
they love hearing them, and they wanted to hear them all in a big gaggle of Farkisms. So it's what they want. I'm here for the fans and the listeners, man.
Is a group of Farkisms really called a gaggle?
It's called a Farkle. That's a game, actually.
Yeah, I know. It's the equivalent of Yahtzee,
It is,
isn't
yeah.
it?
It's actually a fun game.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is you putting that all together was a lot of work, and I'm sure it just became like brain numbing for a while. And it made me think, when my brother turned 50, I put together a 50th birthday video for him, which had pictures of him as a baby and had all kinds of music and everything associated to it. And one of the things that I highlighted in the video was that he's always kind of a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. So I had the song "Because I'm Happy," da 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 da. That by, I forget what his. Thank
Pharrell.
you, Pharrell. I
Yeah.
don't want to sing it here. But what I would do is I would make sure the pictures were changing at an exact moment during the song. So it was monotonous work. I hate that song now more than I can tell you, because I have heard it thousands of times during that creation of that video. So I can only imagine what you think of Farkisms, because I knew what you thought of them beforehand.
Oh, my word. So I can tell you that you have a spreadsheet of Farkisms, which we keep in cloud storage. And your first documented Farkism is not when they started.
I think I started that after the fact because I wanted to start keeping track of them.
Well, your date was a year off.
Okay. Like all of my other record-keeping activity, you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. Well, now, did you ever work for Enron? How about Arthur Anderson? No?
Not that I recall.
No?
I mean, but I don't
No.
keep good records, so it could have happened.
Yeah, that's
And I
fantastic.
gotta say, as we've gone along for so many years now, they get harder and harder because I have to really start digging for stuff to come out with these amazing etched in stone things that you will never forget. Farkism puns.
It's interesting that you would actually choose to use the word amazing in this particular context. And some would argue that you've been digging pretty deep to hit the bottom of the barrel ever since the
week
beginning.
One, yeah.
Yeah.
I've had a couple go. You've actually helped. You came up with Farkuchi Moya, which was one of the best.
Farkuchi Moya.
That and I think Farkuiel might be two of the best ones.
They have the virtue of being rather impromptu. Whereas yours are scripted out, and the fact that you keep a database just astounds me.
I don't want to repeat myself, and I think I have repeated myself a couple of times, but I've done my best to not. What I usually do is I'll go and I'll think of one, and then I'll go into that database and I'll do a search to see if I can find the same word or the same episode title. Sometimes I have not seen it and repeated myself, but it's been few and far between.
Yeah, that's true. I think that the one that I know of that you used a second time, because you screwed it up twice, was Wrong's Darker Than Death or Night. Because the first time you called it Wrong's Farker Than the Night. And the second time you got closer, if memory serves. But you still didn't really get the title right. And that's the only reason it sticks out of my mind.
You just had a Discovery title in what you just said to me, if memory serves.
Well, spoiler alert, that phrase has been around for a long time.
I was just trying to deflect.
You? You?
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
So, as many people know, we don't talk politics on Trek Geeks. Today, as we record this outtake, it is Inauguration Day here in the United States. And I have taken the day off because regardless of the outcome, I am day drinking this afternoon, and I'm going to love every minute of it.
Yep.
I decided I should work out ahead of that.
Yeah, it looks like you got the workout garb already ready to go. Yeah,
I do.
Looking pretty.
I do.
Pretty sporty there, Captain America.
Yeah, thank you. It's an honor of the day. I've watched every inauguration in the last 40 years.
That's congratulations, man. That's no small feat.
Since 1981.
There you
honestly.
go. That's cool. Yeah, I will be watching. We don't talk politics here. We'll do this little spot, and that's about it. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. and you know what? I'll say it right out. Biden's not the best choice in the planet unless you look at what was going on. I wish him all the best and all the luck in the world. America needs this. The world needs this, and I'm looking forward to getting back to some sense of normalcy, and I think we'll at least start to get that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not making any statement other than I appreciate the way we transition power in our particular representative democracy. It's different. It's beautiful. It's unique. It's spawned similar processes in other nations. And it's far from perfect, but it's the one we have. And I'm always glad that it happens with more pomp and circumstance than it does, shock and awe.
Absolutely. Well said, man. New topic, since now we're going to get right off of that.
Yeah.
I made the best duck ever last night. Because you know that duck is my all-time favorite entree.
I do.
And
I do
we
that.
tried making duck in the air fryer last night with air fryer coconut oil roasted potatoes. Yummy.
Admittedly, I know very little about air fryers, but that term seems a little much like an oxymoron.
Fried toaster.
Really?
Well, yeah. I mean, it just blows hot air to cook the food, but it I gotta say, I've read a lot of stuff about it before we got it, and people say, oh my god, it's so moist when you cook food, and it's no lie, because it is. We've done several things in it now, and they've all turned out fantastic. We've been using the Instapot. We don't use our stove. That's the thing. Who knows if we'll ever use our stove again.
Yeah, we love our Instant Pot. So the air fryer blows a lot of hot air. Does this mean that you are an air fryer? I'll be here all week.
The Trek Geeks Podcast Network is proud to have...
Well, since I've ground this conversation to a halt and you've already started with the pre-roll, do you want to do this?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Looking forward to a great 2021 with you here on the podcast, my friend.
I'm going to make one change to that pre-roll because I had made it once already and it seems to have evaporated one moment. This is fantastic listening.
Right
there we go. You can reload.
I will reload. Well, it actually made the change for me right on the fly there. Boom.
I've changed that like 3 times.
Very strange.
I love technology. It's more beautiful than your face. There it is, the first your face of 2021.
But
boom!
Really, anything is.
Yeah.
Coconut.